Hi, welcome back. In our last video, we spoke about function parameters. In this video, we're going to be focused on function workflows. So basically, a function workflow is a block of logic, right? Uh, so I'm going to give you a couple scenarios to help you understand this. I'm going to switch over to a diagram. Um, a lot of you're already familiar with the concept of flowcharts. And in fact, in many no-code systems, functions are represented using these flows, right? So in this example, a workflow would be perhaps this step, and each of these steps you can categorize it as one workflow. If something happens over here, then is something will be evaluated over here, and based on whatever the response is or the results are, then we might go in a different direction. Uh, so we have the flow of the visual flow approach of representing workflows. And then, in just regular programming, with software development, you have, one flow, another workflow. So we have all these different workflows that we just, put together in, a straightforward approach that we can visualize. On in-house cloud, we follow this same concept, so you can have multiple workflows. So I can just say, I can call this logic one, add a workflow, and you could have another workflow, you know, I can call this logic two. So obviously, to create a workflow, all you would need to do is just enter the name of the workflow and add workflow, and that's it. And in each workflow, you can add steps, right? So you can add step. I can say, hey, I want this to be a variable, and I can say username. I can set this to string called Sam. So all I did in this one step was basically set a variable that is named username and set that variable to be equals to Sam. So why do we follow this approach, right? Uh, in different systems, you might have one block for one step, but here I kind of wanted people to have the best of both worlds. If you're the kind of person that likes to see their work in one view, you do not want to be bouncing back and forth um, between different flows, and then this is you can just write all your steps in one workflow. If you're the kind of person that likes to segment their work, you want, like, maybe or you want related function or related functionality or related logic in a workflow, then you could go ahead and do that. So you could see someone saying, okay, let's initialize the user. That's workflow number one. Workflow number two could be, let's go get that user from database. Workflow number three would be, let's evaluate something about that user. Or you could just be like, hey, step one, get user. Step two, go get the user from database. Step three, evaluate that user. So basically, at the crux of it, workflows are basically just a means to put logic together. So workflows could be one or many, and each workflow can have one to many steps. So the hierarchy goes as this: you have your workflow, you have your workflow steps. All right, and now you can, if you per se want to rearrange your workflows, you can always just do that by dragging and dropping. So you can rearrange workflows very easily by just dragging and dropping the workflow, and then the sequence of execution for your function steps or your workflow steps would switch. So whichever workflow comes first will be executed in sequence, right? And then the next workflow would then trigger in, right? So we've discussed about what workflows are. We know that workflows could be one to many. We know that we could have one workflow that has all our steps. We know that we can segment our steps in different workflows. And we also know that we can mix and match we can rearrange our workflows. And of course, you could just as easily delete a workflow, right? So that's, pretty much all you need to know about workflows. You know, they basically are a means to organize blocks of logic. It could be one block, it could be many blocks, but at the end of the day, workflows have steps, and the steps are the real functions that will execute in the overall function structure. Now, finally, before I leave you, this is more for for the more technical people who might want to understand how workflows to execute at runtime. So let's say you had, one, two, three, as many workflows as possible. Now, when it gets to the execution layer, these are no longer executed as workflows. The whole concept goes away, right? So the workflows will just be used to organize the steps. So if you had three steps in one workflow and maybe two steps in a separate workflow, at the execution time, all the system sees is five steps, right? So the workflows just, are strictly a means to segment, organize blocks of logic. The real function is the actual function steps or the workflow steps. So at runtime, the workflows go away and the function steps remain, and they are executed in sequence. And that's workflows. Well, I'll see you in the next video.